Hello, hello! Today we have Natasha Denona's Yucca palette. Every time I watch one of these videos reviewing this palette, everyone calls it the Yucca palette. I don't know where people learned that, because I think everyone's instinct is to say Yucca, because that's usually how you pronounce it when you see it like this. For whatever reason, someone found out everyone was pronouncing it wrong, so this could be the Yucca palette. I'm going to call it Yucca palette just for, that is literally how you pronounce it sake, but I understand it is probably Yucca if that's what the brand owner says it is. So this is the Yucca palette. I was so excited when I saw this drop. I love yellow. I'm even wearing yellow right now. I love yellow. Yellow is my favorite color. I especially love mustardy yellows. It's my favorite color. So I was really excited when I saw this drop because I never thought this would happen. I didn't think that a big like luxury makeup brand would ever drop something that had anything to do with yellows. So I was really surprised. On the back you'll see all the ingredients and the shade names, and just a couple things on this. The back does say it was made in Italy, and it says it is not tested on animals, but when I was talking about whether or not I should review this palette, I'm so sorry that your name escapes me, but someone did post about not liking to use this brand because they use carmine in their products. I didn't know that, but I read all the ingredients for the shades. I did some Googling. As far as I could see, this is not, I don't want to say it's not 100% or it is 100%, but from what I personally could find on Google and what I personally read through the ingredients, it is possible that I missed something. But this palette does not have any carmine, so this does not use any animal product as far as I could see. I believe maybe some other palettes do. This one specifically, from what I could find, does not. So I think that if that is super important to you, I mean, continue researching that. But from what I could find, there is no carmine in this product. So as far as I would say, this product is most likely vegan friendly. But again, if that's something that's important to you, don't just take my word for it. Do some further research. From what I could find, this palette does not contain any carmine. So I just wanted to bring that up because one of my subscribers brought that up, so to me that means like that's important to someone, so I did want to shortly discuss that for a moment. As something else I wanted to bring up is I was so excited to get my palette, and the thing about Natasha Denona palettes, this palette costs around like $69. That's I think pretty much her average for a palette this size with 15 shades. The thing with the Natasha Denona palettes, and we'll see here on the back, is it has these holes, right? The holes are for you to poke out the shades because the shades are magnetic. And I was so excited to receive my palette that when I received it, I immediately, pretty much day of, took my shades and rearranged them the way that I like my shades rearranged, and in a way that made sense to me. So when I show you my palette, I should have waited and done it after, but I was so excited. I fixed the palette the way I like to apply my makeup. So when I open this palette, it's going to look a lot different than pictures you may see on the website, which I believe I did get this one directly from the Natasha Denona website. It's going to look different, okay, but I'll explain the colors. So we're going to open it up. You can see here there is glass. Thankfully they've put this kind of matte cover on it, so it makes it a lot easier to cover it up for the camera. But this is how I've laid out my Yucca palette. I put all the colors that I thought were darker on the bottom, so all the bottoms are more like matte shades. I put all my shimmers in the middle, and I put all my lighter colors up top. And then I also rearranged them down the row in triples of what I thought kind of worked together in terms of colors. So that is how I wore my makeup more or less. I used this column and that column and then down this column, and I guess I'll just mention it now. I always try to be just very real with my reviews. I don't want to hide anything. If you've seen my past reviews, if there's a shade that kind of irritates my eye, where I'll say like I felt like a burning sensation or something, like I will mention it. And I have mentioned it before in my reviews of certain Jeffree Star products. Go look at those videos. Go back and look at those videos because it is definitely there. I recently had some hubbub about a palette from an indie brand that I recently reviewed, and I told the truth because it was my truth, it was my experience. I didn't tell you to buy it or not to buy it necessarily. I just said, you know, be aware, be aware. And I'm going to say the same for this, but what I'm also going to say is that I currently reside in Oregon, and in Oregon right now When I woke up this morning, the sky was orange because we are surrounded by fires right now. It is intensely smoky outside right now. The towns south of us have already been put in level 2 evacuation, which is pretty much get set. So for them, it's start getting your stuff ready because you may be asked to evacuate, and once we ask you to evacuate, you may have 2 days or less to do so. So it is really smoky right now. So I don't know if some of these shades may have irritated my eyes or if it's because of the intense smoke that we've been in all week, but I'm going to mention it nonetheless. So maybe be careful with, as much as I love these shimmers, maybe be a little careful with the shimmers. I found that at the end of my day, my eyes were a bit itchy, and I think it may be because of the shimmers. So just careful with that, be aware of that. Regardless of the end of the day itch, which I could not tell if it was like allergies or if it was because of the smoke, because I wore an eye look yesterday and I was fine yesterday. We'll see how I do today. But when I wore these initial, I think these two, I did have some itchy eyes at the end. So again, I just want to mention that because I want to be real with you guys, because I really do. Spoiler, I do love this palette. I thought it was really fun. It is definitely a luxury palette. You can definitely feel a luxury palette. There's not one shade in here that I really feel was a weak spot for this palette, but I did want to mention that maybe you'll have some slight irritation, I don't know. The only quote-unquote irritation I had was that my eyes were kind of itchy at the end of the day, which I put on my makeup around the middle of the day, and then I wear it until I take a shower. So maybe I wore this for too long, but it's not something I usually deal with, so I'm mentioning it here. So overall, I really like the mattes. There's different formulas in here, if you can tell. Like a shade like this is just a really good luxury matte. And then we have a shade like this, where it's like a cream. It's not really a matte, and I think you can see that there. Like, it is kind of creamy. Let's see. It is a, like, creamy kind of matte, and it's a different kind of thing, and it is so pretty. I think this was my favorite yellow in here. Look how beautiful it is. It totally matches my shirt. It's so cute. I was also very taken back by this one over here, which again, the names on this doesn't matter anymore because I've already changed the names on it. But this yellow that I'm wearing on my eyes today, I was really taken back because this is like a marshmallow peep yellow, a kind of Easter yellow, a pale yellow, and you could still see it on my eyes. That really kind of took me back because a light yellow like this doesn't usually show on my eyes, and it did here. So I thought that was really cool. That's really nice. I also, let's see, these are such interesting colors because they're yellow, but they're also lean kind of green. So I think that was really fun. Of the shimmers, I absolutely fell in love with this shade right here. I liked all the shimmers. I think this one here is my favorite, and I think I realized that my favorite kind of shimmer is more of a foil. All the shimmers were super easy to pick up with a brush. Insanely easy to pick up with a brush. Applied so well. Look at that. Girl. This is what I'm talking about. When we're talking about luxury makeup, this is what you expect. This is the effect. It's metallic, but it's also sparkly. It's easy to use with a brush. I didn't have to wet my brush. I didn't have to put primer on. I didn't have to do anything. This is just raw, picked it up with my finger, and look how good it looks on my hand. But even better, with a brush on my eye, as it should be. This is so good. It's so good. I also really enjoyed just like a shade like this. This one kind of reminded me of a similar shade, I think in a Jeffree Star eye gloss. But this one's also so pretty. I really, really enjoy the shimmer formula in here, and it kind of makes up for my eyes being kind of itchy at the end of the day once I've worn my makeup for several hours. But it's so pretty. It is so pretty. I loved these shimmers. If I had to pick a weak link, maybe this brown over here, the brown shimmer. It's kind of giving some metallic, not a lot of sparkle. It's a little bit more subdued because it's more of a metallic than it is of like a shimmer or pop, but it does give you that kind of option for like nighttime makeup, you know? More moody, more dark. Everything, I'm really happy with my palette. I remember when I watched Allie Dawson's review of her palette, she talked about there being a smell coming from her palette, and I think she described it maybe as like a chemically smell. I don't have that with my palette, thankfully, but again, it's something I wanted to mention because it's something that I saw in the reviews, and I think that was one of her biggest kind of gripes with the palette. She's like, it smells so bad, and I don't know why. But personally, I definitely would recommend this palette. Of course, coming with the warning, maybe be careful with the shimmers around your eyes, but again, I can't say for sure because I don't know if it's allergies with the smoke that's been in the air for the past week. Maybe I wore it for too long, but also it looks still so good at the end of the day. The thing with the Natasha Denona palettes and this luxury brand is there's like little to no fallout. It's very mind-boggling that I could apply eyeshadow and not need to clean up my eyes after. Although I did with the shimmers. The shimmers definitely kind of, there's some different fallout on my face. But for these rest of these kind of like matte shades, regardless if it's more of a powder matte or a cream matte, it stays on my face perfectly fine. There's no fallout on my face at all. With the powdery ones, there was a lot more fallout in the palette than I was expecting, but it was still very pigmented. It's long lasting, really easy to blend and do everything you need with it. This is such a great palette. I'm so happy Natasha Denona decided to do a palette like this, and I really hope more brands want to do yellow palettes. A lot of brands don't do yellow palettes, and I think Jeffree did one, but I did not like his version of yellow palette. I'm thinking of maybe trying it again, even though I've already tried it and gave it away. I'm like, okay, maybe something will be different now. I don't know, but I love this palette. I do recommend it, and I am keeping this one.